So now we want to be able to show our orders on our profile. So we're going to start off in the back end because we do need to create a new controller function with a route to do that. So in our order controller, let's copy this last one we did and we'll paste this in. So what this is going to do is get user order. We'll say get logged in user orders, and for the route it's going to be a get request, and let's do API / orders / let's call it my orders. Okay, because we're limiting these orders to the user that's logged in. So right here, let's say but const orders. And we want to set this to our model, and we want to use find because we're getting more than one. And let's pass in an object here. We only want to find orders where the user is equal to the request.user._id. So only the logged in user. And that's it. We just want to respond with those. So we can get rid of all this. And let's just say res.json orders. And of course we need to change this title to, let's say, let's call it get my orders because it's the user that's logged in. Now we need to export this. So get my orders, and let's go to our routes. So order routes, and let's bring in get my orders. And what we want to do for a route is we'll do / my orders. Like, is that what I said here? Yeah, so / my orders. So I'm going to just copy this down, and the route will be my orders, and it's going to be get, and we do want it to be protected, and get my orders. All right. So we have that backend functionality. We can actually test it in Postman. So if we create a new request here, get API / orders / my orders, get logged in users orders, and this is going to be my orders. So if I try to do it now, it's going to be not authorized. So I'm going to put in my token, which should be stored in Postman. So bearer token, let's send. And I'm logged in as John Doe, so I should get John Doe's orders, which is just the one that we did. All right, so we'll go ahead and save that route in Postman. Now let's go back to the front end and add the flow for that. So we'll start with our constants. So order constants, and let's call this first of all, we'll just copy these, and we'll call this order let's call it order list my request, or I guess that's fine. That's what I originally called it. I don't really like it, but whatever, we'll just keep that. So let's change these to list _ my, because later we'll have an order list request success and fail, which is going to be when we list all the orders for the admin, but this is just ours, so we'll just say my. So let's save that. Let's go to our reducer. And you can see the pattern and kind of the workflow that I'm using here. We create our backend route, we create the constant, the reducer, the action, and then create the screen and bring the action in and call it and get what we want from the state. So after this course, what I'd like you to do is think of some other features that you can add on and try to do it yourself using the same kind of like workflow that we've been using. So I'm going to copy this, and let's paste this in here. So this is going to be order list my reducer, and the state is going to have an empty orders array to begin with. And let's see, we'll change these to list underscore my, list underscore my. We don't need the reset. And let's make sure we import these in. Okay, and then we have loading true, and then here we're going to have loading false, and we're going to fill orders with the action.payload. And then on fail, we'll call the error. Okay, let's just make sure those are brought in. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay, so we have that reducer, order list my reducer. So let's go into our store.js now, and let's bring that in. So right here, order list my reducer. Call this order. We'll call it order my list. Order my list. Or is it list my? Oh, it's list my. So order list my. Order list my reducer. So now for the action, let's go into order actions. And from here, I'm going to copy. Let's see, we'll just copy this pay order. And we're going to call this list my orders. And we're not going to have to pass anything in here. It knows who we are by our token. Let's change this to list my and import it. We don't need content type here. We do need our token. And then here, this is going to be a get to orders, API orders slash my orders. And we don't need this. So it'll just be our config. I don't know why this isn't auto formatting. All right. So here, let's change this and this, or this and this, to underscore list underscore my success and fail, and let's bring those in. So here we're just going to pass in the data, which is going to be that particular user's orders. Now let's go to the profile screen. So profile screen, and up at the top here, so we have our profile screen, and then we want to get the order list my state. So I'm going to copy this, and actually we'll just put it down here. Let's change these to order my list. And what we want to get from, wait, is it list my, or I keep getting that mixed up. So in our store.js, we have order list my. All right, so order list my, so that's wrong. Order list my. Okay, and what we want to get from that is loading, error, and orders. Now, I'm just going to rename this to loading, we'll say loading orders. And let's rename this to error orders. Okay, and then down in the use effect is where we want to dispatch our action, but we didn't bring it in yet. So up here, we want to bring in not from user actions, we want to bring in from order actions, order list my, or no, what did we call it in actions? I think we called it list my orders, which would sound a lot better. yeah, list my orders. List my orders. So that's going to be from .. actions / order actions. And let's go down to the use effect. So right here we're dispatching get user details. Right after that we're going to dispatch list my orders, and we don't need to pass anything in, we just want to call it. And then down here, well, let's actually just save it and see if they get fetched. So if we go over here, you can see that the orders are filled. It's just an array, and we have that one single order. So now back here, let's go down to where we have this column. We already created the column. So let's we'll get rid of this. No, we'll keep the H2, and under the H2, let's say loading orders. So if the orders are loading, then let's show the loader. And you can create different loaders if you want. I know we're using the same one all around the site, but of course you could create different ones. And then if there's an error, what do we call it? Error orders. Then we want to show a message and give that a variant of danger. And then inside here, be sure to put error orders, because that'll be the error from this part of the state. Else, then we want to show a table. So I'm going to open up some parentheses and let's put in a table here. I'm going to say striped, bordered, and hover, and responsive. And I'm also going to add a class name. I want it to be like compact, so I'm going to give it a class name of table-sm. Now in this table we're going to have our t head, so our table head, and let's put a table row, and in here we want our table headings. The first one's going to be ID, and we'll copy this down a few times. So we have ID, we want the date, we want the total, we want to know if it's been paid, and we want to know if it's been delivered. So those are the headings. Actually, we'll have one more because there will be a details button, so we'll just leave that one empty. Now for the T body, in here we're going to loop through the orders. We're going to create a list, I should say. I always say loop through, but we're actually creating a list in React. So we're going to say for each order, then let's create a TR, so table row. We want to give this a unique key. So the key, I'm going to use order._ID. And in this row, we're going to have our columns. The first one is going to be the ID, so we want to do order._ID. Then we have the, what's next? So we have the ID, the date. So for this, let's do order dot, and we should have created at, because remember we used the timestamps option in the model. But I just want the date like the day, the month, and the year. So I'm going to cut off the rest of it by using substring. And we want the first 10 characters, so let's say 0 to 10. And then the next one here is going to be the price, the total price. Okay, and then under total price, this is going to be if it's paid or not. Now what I'd like to do is just show, if it's paid, I want to show the paid at. If it's not, I just want to show like an icon, an X icon from Font Awesome. So let's test it. We'll say if order dot is paid, then we'll show we'll say order dot paid at, which will be the date, and then I'm just going to add substring onto that. We want 0, 10, and then else, then I'm going to show an icon. So let's say we'll do an I tag here with the class name, and for the class name it's going to be FAS and then FA-times. That will give us like an X icon. And I'm also going to give it a style because I want it to be red, so double curly braces, and then color will be red. All right, and that should do it. I'm just going to save that to format it, and then I want to do the same for delivered, so I'm going to copy this whole TD here and paste this in, and this one's going to be is delivered. And if it is, then we're going to say order delivered at, and if not, then we'll have that X. Let me just see what this is. Table is not defined, red is not defined, so that's right, these have to be strings. And then lastly is going to be the details button. So under here, let's put one more TD, and in here I'm going to use a link container, and this is going to go to, we want it to go to the order page, so let's do backtick / order / and then we want to put in the order._ID, and here we'll put a button, and I'm going to give it a variant of light and pass, let's say, details for the text. And we don't have link container brought in, so up at the top we're going to bring in table from Bootstrap, and then let's bring in link container. We're going to bring that in from React router Bootstrap. All right, so let's save that. Let's check out down here. Button is never used on order screen. All right, we can get rid of that on order screen. Where is it? Right here, button. But let's check the profile page now. And there it is. Now, even though I use table small, this is still kind of big, and it's because the button is so big. So I'm just going to add onto the button here, class name, and I'm going to set that to btn-sm. And that'll make it look a little more compact, and that looks pretty good. All right, so I think we're ready to start adding admin functionality, because right now, I mean, we can, purchase products, we can view our orders, we can log in and register and update our profile, but there's no way to actually add products. There's no way to manage users. So if we want to delete a user, or if we want to set a user to an admin, we can't do any of that. So in the next couple sections, we're going to have videos where we focus on adding the admin functionality.